welcome to the Awaken Sober podcast. It's a podcast about life and recovery through Christ. Welcome, everybody. I'm glad you're here to join us for another episode. If you're new to here, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. So today, we've been doing this podcast for about, 3 or 4 months now?
20 episodes, something like that.
20 episodes, yeah. So I think it's time that we let the viewer get to know who we are as individuals.
Yeah, I like that.
Right. So
Get
this
a
week,
story.
yes. So this week we're going to be interviewing our friend Jeremy.
Woohoo! Yeah.
In the words of Ricky Bobby, if you ain't first, you're last.
Oh,
Yeah, see? Ah, do you like that?
wow.
Yeah.
All right.
You always have to have a test dummy. Just remember.
There you go.
I appreciate that.
Anytime.
And also today we have a new face on the camera.
Yeah, they took me off the soundboard and let me have a camera for a hot minute. I guess they're just being nice, or I haven't figured this one out yet. I'm kind of scared.
Hopefully people are observant and realize that there are 3 bearded people here now. And there's only one outcast.
Yeah, there's only one outcast.
Oh, there it is.
I have been the outcast for the last 20 episodes too, because you got to remember the guy before had a little bit of that long goatee. I did not have.
True. That's true. And on the hot mic we have.
Oh, man. You know what? It's fun sitting over here. No mic, nothing. I just get a...
Oh, you got the mic. You
got
don't
the
have no
mic.
camera.
Well, I
you
mean,
can-
no camera.
No camera.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. I like it with no camera.
And so I want to give a shout out to Shane, because Shane's kind of taken over this whole editing thing and everything else. So having him actually work the board and know it, he can only get mad at himself.
Yes.
Yeah, like this. Since I didn't switch a camera angle, early enough. That's going to take a little bit for my brain to get used to.
Right.
It's multitasking.
How was everybody's week?
Honestly, brother, I'm going to pass this week.
Okay.
I mean, it's been an interesting path that I'm on right now, and for this week, I'm going to have to just keep it to self.
Okay.
All right.
All right. That's a good answer.
And here's the thing. As soon as the solution comes, you can share it.
Oh yeah, trust me. When the solution comes, there'll be a testimony. I do a whole episode just on that testimony alone.
I
So
love it.
I've had a roller coaster this weekend. I can say this week. It's been a kind of an up and a down, and I'm going through some personal stuff. And I had a meeting with my currently wife, and we ended up turning what was supposed to be a 2-hour session into an all-day affair.
An all-day affair.
An all-day affair. And I will say, I mean, a lot of things I've learned through recovery. And
See what he did there.
I had an affair with my wife.
all day.
I learned a lot. And I've taken a lot of the tools I've learned and were able to really use them in the conversations we had. And I was very proud of myself of how I came out at the end of the day. I never got angry. I never raised my voice. I listened. I validated. I did what I was supposed to do in a conversation, and it worked.
It's funny how that happens, huh?
And then I spent the last 2 days driving ice around the Festival of Little Hills. So I'm glad we got to record today, because it's going to be 100 today?
Yeah, it's pretty warm out there.
Oh, yeah.
It's a warm one. It's warm.
Without a doubt. All right, so we're gonna get this interview going.
Well, Shane, how was your week, buddy?
Oh, well,
Just because he's not on camera doesn't mean he doesn't.
Oh, now who do I pick to focus on? Dum, 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 dum.
I think he's having too much fun with that camera switcher.
Here's the thing. It was a pretty jacked up week for me until this morning. I walked into church late on purpose, right? I've been disconnected. I didn't even want to hear worship music. I wanted to just go and listen to the message and get out. Check a box, right? And so I thought I came in late enough to miss it. I don't like this mic. I'm not used to where I got to talk into it. But I walk in late, what I thought I missed the music portion, and they were singing Good, Good Father, and then out of that into another song. And God just was able to wreck me in that moment like I needed to be wrecked. And I bawled like a little baby in the back of the room and just sat there and just praised him. And then got to go to my seat and just wrote. I think the whole message, all I did was I journaled the entire time. I listened to the message. I know exactly what he said, but I just journaled. And so I got to say, the close of the week, phenomenal. I love it.
Awesome. Awesome.
I know we're going to interview Jeremy, but how was your week? Wait, hold on a second. The conversation we had early. Did you have a week this week, Jeremy?
Did I have a week this week?
Yeah, did you have a week this week?
Yes, I had a week this week.
Thank you.
Yeah. It was good. Just a few hiccups along the way. Another hiccup today, but I guess the week hasn't technically. Does the week start on Sunday or does it end on Sunday?
Starts on Sunday.
Okay. Well, it's a new week.
It's a new week for you. Way to start it off there,
Way
bud.
to start it off, yeah. No, but I did. I got to spend the weekend out at my cabin, and I haven't, been there in quite some time. And got to get stuff ready for deer season. Got to see an old friend from Kansas City. He came in and we hung out last night and talked till way early in the morning. So it was really good. Yeah. So I needed that for my soul for sure.
So before we get this interview started, I just want to give a shout out. Like you said, Shane, whatever it is you're going through, brother, we're here with you. And I know you viewers out there, put them on your prayer list, and so everything be good from there.
Amen.
I think God had fun with me today.
Yeah, he may have.
He's
He's having fun with a few of us at the moment. If you really think about it, we're all yeah.
He does have a good sense of humor.
Here's what's cool. When we're uncomfortable, we're growing, right?
Right.
And I was in this complacency and just, it was nice. Something has to break, and it was me today. So I'm happy.
This is the moments where that T-shirt from that company that I love so much that says "Embrace the Suck."
Oh, I have that one.
I know you do.
I didn't wear it today, but yeah, I have it.
So let's get this interview up and going. Jeremy.
Remember what I said, no open-ended questions.
Oh, it's about to get started. So can you tell us about your journey into recovery?
Where do I start?
Well,
Give us why don't you give us a quick 15-minute testimony of Jeremy?
hold on.
Yeah.
Don't go too
Don't go
wild.
there yet.
Where were you born? Where were you raised? What was your childhood like? Brother, sister, give us some backstory, some information, so that way the listeners can get to know Jeremy.
Yeah, so I was born and raised here. Excuse me, sorry about that. Born and raised here in St. Charles County. I'm the only child, which you can tell sometimes, for sure. No, pretty good child. I had a good childhood. My parents never made a lot of money. My dad was an alcoholic. I've talked about that before. My grandfather was an alcoholic. But I never had to want for anything. I always had, food in my belly, clothes on my back, and shelter. And my parents, we went to church every Sunday. They were always involved in church, and I was involved with it as well. Sports, parochial school my whole life. I was raised Lutheran, so Lutheran grade school, Lutheran high school, Lutheran college. And in high school is where I actually met my now wife. We were best friends throughout high school. Never dated, but God has a funny way of bringing people back into our lives. And so that's pretty much I would say my childhood was good,
So what religion did you say you were?
Lutheran. No, religion. Religion. Yeah, it's not a religion. Yeah. I like to call Lutherans Catholic light.
Catholic light.
We just don't do the kneeling and all that other junk.
Oh, the clicker.
No workouts? No Sunday workouts?
Yes, and squat, yeah. But no, it was good.
Good. So were you did you always have a spiritual upbringing?
Yeah, like I said, being raised Lutheran, we went to the church that I was baptized in as an infant. My grandparents went there, so my parents went there. And then they started a new church. They planted a new church when I was probably about, I don't know, 5th, 6th grade, I want to say. Maybe it was before then. But they started planting this new church, and it was called Messiah. And we were one of the first, 8 or 9 families to start that church. And so watching that go from nothing to what it is today is pretty awesome. But the reason we switched churches was because of me. And I had friends that were going there. One of my best friends was going there. And so I said, why don't we try this out? And so we did. And we actually used to worship in the Knights of Columbus Hall, which is now Menino's in Cotterville. That used to be the Knights of Columbus Hall.
Okay.
And then we switched from there to Francis Hall Middle School. And then our property where the church sits now is right next to that. And I mean, a few times, I think, when we went, it was in the basement of there was an old house there next to the Quick Trip on 94. And that's where we would go to actually worship. So.
Nice. So have you ever disappointed any of your childhood dreams? Like with sports or, friendships, anything like that?
Was I what?
Have you ever disappointed your childhood dreams? That's the question.
So have you not?
You have dreams as a kid
Well, yeah.
that you disappointed?
That you didn't follow
Fulfill?
through with?
Oh, I mean, I didn't become an NFL football player.
Oh, yeah.
You didn't? No. Oh, I thought I seen him Sunday.
Yeah, I wish you would have gave me these questions in advance. But
Hey, it should have been on that
I
doc.
was going to say, we just got him 3 minutes ago.
You want us to ask questions,
You
or we can
can't-
just feel more comfortable just kind of giving a little testimony?
I'm digging it. I'm digging it.
We can just take off
It's
wherever
making me think.
we
I
can.
love it. No, yeah, I mean, I had childhood dreams. I think I was really involved. I was involved in baseball. I was involved in 4-H. I like to. My dad always took me out fishing and hunting. That's kind of my thing now that I'm passing on to my stepson is, the love of the outdoors and being outside and conservation. So I always did that. And what happened? There we go. Mm-hmm. I was never a good student per se. I wasn't a popular kid, but I also wasn't the nerd. I could hang out with everybody. And so in school, I was well liked, but I was an extroverted introvert, if that makes any sense. Okay. So, like I said, I could hang out with anybody. Football was my passion. It was almost like, I got a college scholarship to play. So that was it. I hate to say captain the football team, kind of deal. And I loved my upbringing there. And then when I went off to school in Nebraska, that's kind of where everything began to change for me. And that's when I discovered alcohol for the first time.
Oh,
Tell us about that first time. The first drink experience that you had, what was it like?
So I told myself I wasn't going to drink until after the football season. And being a freshman, I didn't know anybody, and so it was kind of like it was easy. And so I made my friends, and then none of us actually, the core group, didn't drink until after the football season. They had all drank before through high school, and they were from small towns in Nebraska. So that's kind of, I guess, what you do, right? Nothing else to do. So I remember going to the first kegger at this trailer out in the middle of nowhere in Nebraska. I discovered it was like a ball of beer. And I can't remember what they were called. It was like
the party ball.
It was a party ball. Yeah, a party ball. Yeah.
Coors came out with the party bar.
Huh?
Coors came out with the party
Yeah.
bar. Yeah.
I discovered that, and I was like, "This is amazing," And so I remember that first night, and then it kind of just took off from there. And for the next several months, it was every weekend we would go out and party and have a good time. I didn't really drink during the week until after sophomore year. I still stuck with the whole I'm training, I'm not going to drink during football season. So I stuck with that. And then in my sophomore year is when I got sick and I got a really bad concussion during football season. And so I went back, and then after that I got meningitis. And so I was missing classes. I was excused from classes, and I was like, oh, well, there's something I can do. And I drank a lot during that time. And that's also, that sophomore year is when I had a professor of mine pull me aside and ask me, because I was going to school for pre-seminary, and he asked me, he's like, what else do you want to do with your life? And I was like, I want to be a pastor. He's like, no, you don't. I was like, yeah, I do, And he's like, I think God has a different plan for you, and I think you need to seek out his plan. And then I was like, man, I think I want to be a police officer. And so he's like, why don't you get some information on that? So I did, and I came back here, and one thing led to another, and probably, I don't know, 3-4 months after I got back, I was enrolled in the police academy, and that was it.
You're a cop?
No. Oh. I was.
Oh, you was?
Yes. 15 years. 15 years.
All right. So,
sounds like a Kanye song.
15 years ago. Wow.
Kanye.
15 years. I could hear that song, that little jam of his.
Go ahead. What happened in your life when you crossed the line?
When the drink took over.
I know what you meant. It's like I crossed the line a lot of places. Where do you want me to start?
Somewhere towards the beginning and work your way to where we're at today.
Yeah.
One step over the line.
Yeah. I don't think I wouldn't have identified myself as an alcoholic until probably 23, 24 years old. I was married at the time. I was able at one point to have like a 6-pack of beer in my fridge and leave it there for a period of time. And then one day the flip switched, and it was one of those things where I needed it all the time. And then that started the next, I would say, 16 years of my drinking career. And I feel like I'm saying a lot.
Did you go all pro?
I went all pro.
Okay.
Yeah. I made it to the World Series. I was the MVP of the World Series, I would say, of drinking. And,
okay.
Yeah.
I was going to say all pro. He just said he didn't play football for the NFL.
But he was talking about his career. So.
Yeah, my drinking career.
Okay.
So there's always that traumatic experience, event, whatever. But so what kind of was like the last year, months leading up to you becoming sober?
Yeah, so I struggled with sobriety since 2017. Amy and I, we'd gotten engaged, and I finally admitted for the first time ever that I had a drinking problem. And her not knowing anything about the disease of alcoholism, me not really knowing anything besides what I've heard and seen in movies, which was AA. And I was like, we'll be able to do this. I'll be able to handle this. Not the case. We had to postpone our wedding because of my drinking. And so that wasn't a good way to start. She didn't leave me then, which is kind of crazy. I ended up in treatment several months later. I was there for 18 days. And then after that 18 days, I was able to maintain about 9 months of good sobriety, I would say. I would say probably 6 months of it were good. And then the 3 months leading up to the relapse were not so good.
Prelapse?
Yeah. And I had it in my mind. I'm like, I could probably do this normally. I could be one of those normal drinkers. And I couldn't. I was shortly back on the wagon. I was doing intensive outpatient, and I was able to do another 6 months. And then it was another 9 months. And then, it was almost like monthly I was messing up until October of 21.
A couple weeks ago, we talked about detaching with love. Did your wife detach with love? Did that play a role in you getting sober?
Yeah, it was. I say, I've joked around before that my wife's got a black belt in Al-Anon, and I do believe that. I do believe that, first and foremost, God, but God and accountability and a program has saved our marriage. And if she didn't set the boundaries that she needed to set, first and foremost, I don't think I would be here right now, and I know we wouldn't be together. I know I'd pushed her to the point where she couldn't deal with it anymore. So, but yeah, so one of the boundary she put on me is every time I drank, I would have to go stay at my parents' house. So being in your late 30s, she's driving me over to my parents' house, and then I have to face my parents and say, oh, I drank again. And this was pre my dad getting sober, pre my mom getting her black belt and Al-Anon. And so it was always one of those things where it's like, I can't believe you're messing up your life like this. You have a good wife. You have 2 beautiful stepchildren. You've got a beautiful house. You've got everything going for you, and you keep messing it up. And I was like, it's not, I'm trying. And I knew all the right things to say. I had been in AA for, quite some time. So I knew, all the cliches that I like to say all the time, the little phrases. And my mom, I remember her telling me this one night. She goes, you know all the right things to say. She's like, you're really good at giving advice, but you're really bad at taking your own.
I think a lot of us deal with those issues sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was embarrassing for me. And then towards the end there, like, she just didn't want me around. And so I would spend a lot of time at my cabin, which is kind of funny, because I just went there this past weekend, like I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast. And now it's like kind of my place again, where I could go there and be at peace. Because for a long time there was nothing happy about that place for me.
Is it like your fortress of solitude?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Everybody needs one of those.
Yes.
I mean,
solitude, not isolation.
That's right. Difference.
I mean, I've heard your story before. Are you comfortable sharing how you actually, the straw that broke the camel's back to make things happen?
Yeah. And so the month of, basically starting in June of 21 and leading up to October, I had a really good job with a global company. And I'd been able to climb the ranks in 2 years, which was almost unheard of. And so I had applied for a management job, and I got it. And then literally the day I got it, I quit. And I had been drinking hiding it for about 3-4 weeks at that point. So I come home and I tell Amy, hey, I quit my job today. And she's like, what? And I was like, I quit my job and I'm going to go work at a restaurant. I want to start a barbecue restaurant. I have never worked a day in a restaurant. Not a single day in my entire life have I worked in a restaurant, but I wanted to own my own barbecue restaurant. So I got a job at this place, and I made it all of maybe 5 or 6 shifts before they fired me.
That's saying a lot, getting fired from a restaurant.
Yeah.
In 5 or 6 shifts. It's not like you even worked.
No.
You were still training.
Yeah, it was bad. So I got rid of that, and then that's when it all just kind of went downhill. I got a job. A friend of one of my spiritual mentors gave me a job. It was basically to check a box, and I continued to drink. Excuse me. Through all that, and then finally it got to the point where Amy said, you can't be here anymore. I don't want you around the kids. I don't want you around me. You're not good for me. You're not good for anybody right now. So I went out to the cabin, and after about a week of trying to sober myself up, I decided I begged her to come home. And I wasn't sober at all. I was drinking, obviously, the entire time. So we tried to make that work for a second. Then finally she said, absolutely not, no. And so for several days, I contemplated ending my life. And I hate to say this, and I don't want this to be a trigger warning, but I got to the point where I would dry fire that pistol just so I wouldn't have to think about it, And I wrote a letter, and I called my friend who lived across the state, and I said, hey, I can't do this anymore. And so it was a beautiful, beautiful day, and I went out there on my dock, and I said, this is it. And I hear a car coming down the road, and I'm like, nobody knows I'm out here besides Amy. Like, why is there a car coming down the road? And it was my mom. And I remember running inside the house, and we got into this huge fight. And had she been 30 seconds later, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now. So I drove home, and I've shared this before. I drove home. It was I should not have been driving. And on the way home, I got a hold of the aviary, and I said, I need help. I don't know what to do. I need help. So I got home. Amy was mad because I was home, and so that was a big deal. I said, I just need you to take me to treatment. That's all I need you to do. How are we going to afford that? I said, I don't know. I said, I think it'll be free. I think insurance will take care of it, you know? Well, that wasn't the case, by the way. On the way there, they finally called me. They're like, well, can you be here by 5:30? I said, yeah, I can be there by 5:30. So I told Amy, I was like, I'm going to pack a bag. Well, the treatment I went to before, you couldn't have belts, you couldn't have shoelaces, you can't have anything. So I didn't take anything.
That wasn't treatment. That was prison.
That was, yeah. So you couldn't have anything. So I was like, oh, okay, well, I didn't pack any of that stuff. Not a razor, nothing. And of course, I was plastered when I was doing this. And so all the way up there, because she had to go to work that night, all the way up there, we really didn't talk much. And then she called to get payment over the phone, and it was a significant amount of money. And Amy's like, I thought you said it was nothing, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, oh, it's for my life, though. It doesn't matter. You know, we can't put a price on my life and my sobriety.
But she thought different.
Yeah, she did.
I think Amy could.
Yeah. So we come pulling up to the aviary, and she's like, oh, you picked the Taj Mahal, didn't you? You know? And I was like, yeah. And I always joke that I don't think she ever put the car in park. And I remember walking in, and she, like, I dropped my bag, and she asked, who was doing my admission, she goes, do I need to be here for this? And I was like, she's like, no. And she's like, all right, gone. Mm. And I was thinking to myself, you know, my marriage is probably over. I don't know what I'm going to do for work, and I can't get this drinking thing under control. And just several hours prior, I wanted to end my life. And I knew I wanted to live, but I didn't know how to live. And so here's this guy, you know, that believes in God, has, quote unquote, given himself to God, but I wasn't living like that at all. And alcohol had become my master, my God. And I remember calling Amy, because we were in a blackout period. I remember calling her 10 days into it, and she goes, I told you I didn't want to talk to you. Don't call me. Click. And I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to put myself on another blackout. You know? So I tried it again 3 days later. And she goes, I told you I don't want to talk to you. There's nothing you're going to tell me. And I was like, I just need clothes. Like, I just need you to send me some things so I could stay here. And I said, I'm going to talk to you about going to extended transitional living. And she's like, well, we don't have the money for that, blah, 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 blah. So I had to beg the accountant there. I was like, can you just get me into this place for free? And I'm good for the money. You know, just get me in. Because I knew I needed it. And in that time frame, I would say probably 2 weeks in, I realized that everything that happened on October 21st and me wanting to end my life, everything that transpired, like my mom showing up and then me getting back safely, how I don't know, you know, and not hurting anybody else, and getting to treatment that day, that was all God. It was all God, because I wasn't supposed to be there, and they weren't, you know, they just surprised. It was my dad's birthday, but I just, when I looked back on it, I'm like, there's no reason I should be here, and there's got to be something else in control, and it's got to be God. And so over the next 98 days of treatment, I committed to the Lord, and I said, I need to leave here completely different than I came in. I don't know what it's gonna look like at home. I don't know what I'm gonna do for a job. I don't know anything, but I was willing to just trust in the process. And
what was that word?
Oh yeah, again, yes.
Do we have a definition of process?
Oh my gosh, no. This is my interview.
Oh, it's all about you today, right?
Ooh, I thought it was God's interview. God's story of Jeremy's life, and Jeremy wants to take control of it.
Shocking.
How'd that work for you?
I'm joking.
You know.
But I had to trust the process, and I had a lot of good mentors, teachers, peers along the way, and I to this day I can't.
It's all good, brother.
I'll never be able to repay them. And not supposed to cry on podcasts.
Says who?
That's exactly what you're supposed to do.
It's about you, brother. Cry.
No, it's about God.
It is about God. Yeah, and that's when I think I get emotional, is because the things that have happened to me in recovery, I'm that person that, you know, the promises do come true. I remember I wanted to work in recovery, and I came home 2 times in the 98 days, and that was Thanksgiving. Thank you, Thanksgiving and Christmas, and they were less than 36 hours each time. So I'd come home, and it would be like, Amy didn't know how to act. I didn't know how to act. The kids were awkward. The family was awkward. Like, what do we do? So it was just weird, and I couldn't wait to go back into that safe place for me. But I came home, and then we saw that same spiritual mentor that gave me a job, the quote unquote job, in sales. And he said to me, he goes, you need to find a job in recovery. And he goes, I don't give a crap if it's mopping the floors. He goes, recovery looks good on you. So I knew I wanted to do that, but I just didn't know how to get there. And so they have these things called coaches, you know, recovery coaches. So I wanted a job there. And at the time, the clinical director needed a year of sobriety. And so I was like, I just want a chance at this. And somebody in my corner, who happened to be Christina, Shane's wife, arranged a meeting with the clinical director. So he comes into the office, my now office, actually. He comes in the office and he says, before we start this conversation, I just want you to know I have absolutely zero intention of hiring you. And so I'm like, great. And it was something like 3 hours later. He goes, I'm going to give you a shot. And so I got a job not only as a coach, but I was actually the manager of the house that I was just in. Like, I transitioned directly into that. Like, here you go. Now you're going to be the manager of the house. I'm like, awesome. Like, this is great. 2 months later, he goes, I think you need to get this certification, and I want to make you a counselor. And I was like, awesome. And that was my end goal, because once I got into it and helping people, I was like, I do want to be a counselor in this. You know what? How do I do that? And he's like, I'll just walk you through all the steps. So, I mean, 3 months into this thing now, I'm a counselor, and I'm like, this is just like, it's going way too fast. And I mean, ever since then, now I'm the counselor therapist at the Brick House, which is the transitional living that I started at. And it's just awesome to be a part of these guys' journey. You know, and I've told Shane before, I've wanted to go back to inpatient because I feed off the chaos. Like, I feel comfortable in chaos, and it's probably, you know, the former police officer in me and everything. I just like, I feel at peace. It's weird. Well, everybody else is freaking out. And so I missed that. And then he asked me the question, you know, where does God want you to be right now? Where do you want, you know, what do you see in your future? And so I was like, man, the stress of working there, and I guess, let me back up. So the marriage that I thought was going to end, for sure, she now works at the aviary. and she's the director of nursing and a medical provider there. So this relationship that seemed doomed, that she didn't want to talk to me. She, you picked the Taj Mahal, didn't you? I mean, I'll never forget that in my mind. We get to work there. We get to work recovery together, and we get to do it in that setting. But then we also get to work recovery in our home. We get to teach our kids. We get to teach others, like, hey, how do you overcome all these struggles, these barriers that get put in front of you? And it's like, no, the path is the barriers. We just have to work around them, And so how does that work? But yeah, so it's been an unbelievable journey. I know Mike's been on here before. Mike, he's become a very, one of my best friends, and a huge accountability partner for sure. So,
right on.
Did that answer your question, Steve?
I mean, it kind of vague. No.
It only took 30 minutes to get that answer, but we got it.
So do you live in a red house?
No, I don't. No, I don't. So, to me, drink equals death. It's life or drink for me. And so if I go back to the bottle again, I know where I'm going to end up. I am either going to be at the end of the bottom of a bottle killing myself, or the end of a barrel killing myself. Neither one of those things I want to do now. It's been a journey. So, my thing is I had done a fourth and fifth step before with sponsors, and I was never thorough on those fourth or fifth steps. And when I got to treatment there, I had a sponsor that kept me through treatment. Shout out to Big Jim. And he kept me through treatment, even though I had lied to him so many times. And
someone lies to a sponsor.
I know. It's crazy. So he kept me through, and I was working through the steps and starting them over again. And Christina gave me an impact statement. And it makes you look at this time in your life where something happened that changed your outlook towards people, towards power, towards respect for others. And so you look at it, it's a fourth step on steroids. And I think we could probably throw one of those up on the show notes so people could see it. So I went through that over a traumatic event that happened in my childhood that I never dealt with. Now, every time I drank, I didn't think about that traumatic event that happened to me. But that traumatic event changed my entire outlook for the rest of my life. And so I had to go back there. And so we worked backwards to that point, and then I would start to be able to rebuild from there. And it's still, forgiving. I found forgiving. I need to forgive. We all need to forgive. As a child of God, God says, love your neighbor as yourself. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind. The second is, love your neighbor as yourself. Yep. So I need to forgive others like I want to be forgiven. I forgive, but I don't forget. And that doesn't mean I want those people involved in my life anymore. It just means, look, either I wronged you, or I felt you wronged me. I forgive you, forgive me, and let's move on. And if they hold on to that, that's on them. But I get free from it, by doing that.
So I kind of know the answer to this question because I know we share this one, but what is the one verse that brings you through everything in recovery?
1 Corinthians 10:13, he will not let you be tempted beyond what you can bear, but when you are tempted, he will also provide a way out so that you can endure it.
Right on. So you brought up Christina a couple times, and I think this might be a quick moment to give a little shout out to what program she run.
Oh, Reclaiming Hope.
Reclaiming Hope,
counseling
yes.
services.
So we give a little shout out to Reclaiming Hope. We haven't done that in a while, but
yeah.
Reclaiming Hope, they've been there for a lot of us, and we've used it. And I don't know about you, but I know I definitely share it with my clients at work, saying, "Hey, give them a call. You got nothing to lose."
Here I am going to get emotional. I look back at this, and it's like, man, having Christina as my therapist, and then getting introduced to her husband. And I'm like, I'm never going to get along with this.
I'm sorry.
and I'll be
Say it.
Damn, if he didn't become like my, not only just a really like very close best friend, but a mentor and somebody I look up to and somebody I could confide in and
Co-star on your podcast.
yeah, and that's just it. Like, and I'm doing this podcast now in my basement. Like, just less than 2 years ago, I didn't want to be here. Like, my life was literally in shambles. Like, it was a complete, absolute wreck. And I say this all the time too, but what happened to me is my AA, I worked in the AA program. And I always say those people loved me when I couldn't love myself. They knew I was going out and struggling. They knew it. And they were always there for me. They never talked bad about me. Just, hey, if you need anything, let me know. And they were always there. I just didn't lean out and do the process like I needed to. But yeah, I mean, I look at this basement that we're in now. I look at, the friends I'm surrounded by. And it's like, I would have never, ever had that had I not made that phone call and went to the aviary.
Right on. Yeah, I heard it's a good place.
It's all right. It's all right.
Some of the counselors up there rock. I heard that.
I know.
All right. So, let's take a look at where you're at now. In that, like.
Well, I just kind of did.
No. I got some things here for you. What was it like early in your sobriety?
Oh, like I shared earlier, early in sobriety. Well, I would say if we go back to the first time I got sober, it was that awkward feeling with family. Nobody in my family, immediate family, nobody in Amy's immediate family has ever been to rehab before. So, I'm sure my father-in-law was thinking, why did you marry this guy? Why do you want to marry this guy? And I know that Amy's given them a book, the Al-Anon book, before too. She loves to hand that thing out. She's given him that before. So the whole, I think losing the trust of everybody in early's, because in my addiction, nobody trusts me. I want people to trust me, yet I don't give them reasons to trust me. I want to be respected, yet I don't give people respect, and therefore they don't respect me. But yeah, in early recovery, I always, the easiest part is getting sober. That is the easiest part. Yes, it sucks. You're going to get sick. You're going to feel like you want to die. But that's the easy part. My shakes were so bad that I had to have the nurses put the medication in my mouth. I couldn't carry a tray of food. I had to carry, I could only fill up my coffee halfway and carry it. Like that, it's stuff like that. And I had to put everything in a bowl, and now I don't do that. So all those people, like I said, all those people were there for me when I didn't deserve it, but they did it because that's what God has called them to do. Like, that's how they give back. And so, but working through the getting rid of the alcohol was one thing. And to me, like I said, that was the easy part. But going and having to look inward at myself, that's where it gets tough. But I knew, because everybody kept telling me, if I don't want to do this again, if I want to give myself the best opportunity at this, then I have to do it this way. I was willing to take any suggestion. So when people come to me now and say, well, I don't think I should do that. Okay, good luck. Because I know what the outcome's going to be.
Right.
You're not unique.
Yes, I am.
No.
We're not unique. It's like we all struggle with the same things. And it's like this is the root cause of the problem. What's the root cause of the problem? Well, let's get down to that and let's work through it. No.
Hey, Jeremy, you talked about how when you got into recovery or into treatment that your wife didn't want to talk to you. How did that change? Well, how did that heal?
I think we need to interview her.
Oh boy.
Yeah, that'll be a 4-hour podcast. Love you, babe. No, she knows. I mean, she talks a lot. Yeah, she's right over
Amy,
there.
that's on him, not us.
Right.
I also said she's the best fish I've caught. So,
That is true.
Yes. It took. I think we went through to 8-9 hours of of counseling that first week we got out. I got out of treatment. I got out on a Tuesday. I was doing individual counseling. We were doing couples counseling. It was like a whole bunch of stuff all that week. And so it's been a journey. I have never asked her to forgive me. I think the way I show her is through my actions, and I back them. Like if I tell her I'm going to do something, then I do it now. And earning that trust back. I mean, 2 years into this, I know there's things where it could still trip her trigger, and she thinks, "What do you mean? What are you doing?" You know. But we have some pretty strict boundaries, and I can't argue with her boundaries. Those are her boundaries, and then she doesn't argue with my boundaries. So we had to learn how to. I guess I finally had to learn how to be a husband, and doing it sober wasn't the same as being drunk. So
You mean actually taking responsibility?
yeah. So, but no, it's good. And like I said, now, I mean, I would have never imagined in 5 years that we would be where we are now. Just wouldn't imagine it.
Congratulations, guys.
Thanks.
I actually enjoy working with your wife. She got an attitude. I've seen her put some boys in
Yes,
check.
no, she can be a mean one. I'm telling you.
Hey.
So, Jeremy, hold on. What's been your biggest challenge so far through your recovery? You're 2 years in. What's that biggest challenge?
Doing a podcast with us.
No.
That's been one of his biggest blessings. You get to see us each week.
Yeah. My biggest challenge is, I think they would go hand in hand, and that would be pride/control. I'm going to put those on the same level. No,
not even close. Pride, control.
All right, I would say
two separate.
I would say control and acceptance. Those are my two hardest ones. And I say acceptance is I accept my position as being like myself as me. I have a difficult time accepting others, not others' decisions. Okay. Now, what I mean by that is their decisions in recovery. And it's like when I know somebody is if you knew somebody was driving towards a cliff, you would want to stop them. And so I do everything that I possibly can to prevent them from driving off that cliff. And so in early recovery, like going back to this, so in early recovery, I had 100 days into my recovery, I was a house manager at a sober living. 5 months into my recovery, I'm a counselor. So what do I know about it? I just had a gift of gab. I could empathize with people. I could sympathize with people. I'd worked through my trauma. I knew how to walk people through that. But so that was difficult, and I lost. I've shared this before. I lost 3 clients back to back, and 2 of them to suicide, and I had a really, really hard time with that. Really hard time accepting that, knowing that they had every single tool at their disposal, and yet they didn't take them up and use them. It's great to have the tools. Like I got my tool in my toolbox. It doesn't work if you don't use it. Like you have to pick it, take it out and use your tools.
I see Shane over there with an odd look. I mean, I don't know if his hands have ever touched a tool.
Yeah, I don't own any tools. I think I have 1 screwdriver in the house and a little bitty hammer.
You got a pressure washer in your garage.
Yeah, but I mean that's yours. Not even mine.
Yeah.
So you say you worked the A program. You're a 12-step individual, right?
Yes.
So obviously you have a higher power.
Correct.
All right. So who's your higher power?
I do have a
title
title of pastor too. So
well, I'll be darned. That wasn't my question, though. My question is your relationship with your higher power, where it started then, where it's at now in your recovery.
I owe everything to God. Absolutely everything. And sometimes I question him on the way things happen. Going back to the acceptance thing, I would say what I lacked my entire life. I knew God, right? I could read you the Bible. I knew where to find it here. I could say, like my mom said, I could give people the greatest advice, but I had the most difficult time accepting it, doing it myself. So I could tell you everything, but I did not follow it up with my actions. And so today, what I strive to do each and every day is to live the way Christ wants me to live. How can I be a catalyst for him today?
Yeah. Cool. Is that it? Is that all you got?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So let's talk about our parts in our recovery, like your relationship with your sponsor.
My sponsor's awesome.
He's awesome.
Yeah. My sponsor has 37 years of sobriety. He's very, very open about his walk with Christ. I have him, and I can't explain him. Like, he's one of those guys that when he comes into an AA meeting, he's got significant amount of time. He's a wise man, but he doesn't have to talk. People just know. And it's like one of those guys, he can sit there and listen. And when there's something that needs to be said, he'll say it. And he shares it. It's always experience, strength, and hope. It's always like that. And I love it when the guys can come in and not have to hear themselves talk. Because we know those people, and whether it be AA or Celebrate Recovery, that they love to hear themselves talk. Instead of just taking the cotton out of your ears and shoving it in your mouth and listening, they always feel like they have to say something. And he's not like that. And I also, I want to say that I don't just have one sponsor. It's like I've got Shane, and I've got you, and I've got this accountability team. And to me, it's like, okay, if I can't get a hold of one person, I know I can get a hold of somebody else. Like, there's always somebody there. So having that accountability and that support, to me, is the most important thing.
Right on. Cool. So, this amends process, isn't it one of the steps or something? You got to make amends.
There's something about that.
Yeah. How's that been going for you?
No, it's good. The step 10 is continue to take personal inventory. When we were wrong, promptly admitted it. Making it through those the first, step 4 and 5. Everybody always gets hicked up on 4 and 5, and I don't know why now. I for the longest time I did it too, but now that I've been through it, I'm like, why wouldn't you want to do this?
Yeah, I mean, we get to see a roadmap of why we became who we became. Yeah, worry about 9. Don't worry about 4.
I really like my 4 step. I mean, what, year and a half of it?
I think 4 years, buddy. You're being awfully generous with this year and a half.
I was going to say.
Yeah, see, and that was my thing. Is when I said I did not want to leave treatment the same way I walked in, I wanted that done. And we were under COVID protocol at the time, so we weren't allowed to leave campus. And Pastor Allen, amazing man. He lives there on close to the aviary and helps out a lot. I had him come up so I could do my 5th step with him. And so I spent several hours going over my 5th step with him. And it was great because he's also been in the program. Or he's also in the program. So it was great having that spiritual support as I walked through it. But yeah, now it's like when I go to bed at night, I try to go, I go through the inventory of my day and say, okay, what could I have done better? Do I owe an amends to anybody? Did I wrong somebody? Was I not being completely truthful? So now those angers or those resentments don't weigh me down anymore.
So we bringing up God, and we talk a lot about that, but the spiritual awakening that you said when you was like, oh, this has to be God, there's no other way. Mm-hmm. There's a little something, more about that feeling. What was it like?
I knew you were going to ask that question. I did. And what's funny is I was thinking about that on my way here from the cabin today, and I was like, for some it comes sudden, and for others it takes a period of time. Right. And to me, when I look back on it, it's like everything I had to go through, I went through, prepared me for where I'm at today. had I not been through that, had I not had those feelings of suicide, had I not have that feeling of loss, and going back, my law enforcement career, I don't talk about it much. I enjoyed it, but it also led me to the bottle. I have had stage 3 cancer. I had been divorced. I've been through miscarriages with my wife. And so all of this stuff, right, that I didn't think I never wanted to experience, that I always used alcohol to cope with, like I realize now it's not that I need alcohol to cope with it. It's I need to go to God. I need to give him praise in everything. Like in every aspect of my life, he deserves all the praise, good, bad, indifferent. And so that feeling is just that, it's like that knowing God is with me all the time. I don't know how else to explain it other than it's like, I just know he's there.
Right. Right on. So, the different things that we teach in group, for those people out there that don't know, we work at the same type of work, I guess, same place.
We work at the same place.
We work at the same place,
yes.
So a lot of the stuff are you truly following through with a lot of things that you are teaching these individuals about? Are you journaling regularly? Are you doing your prayer and meditation daily? Do you have that devotional that you're sharing with these individuals?
Yeah, I do the prayer and meditation devotional. I will be the first to admit I do not journal as often as I should. I 100% don't. And I can't pour from an empty cup. If I'm not going out and getting what I need from the support of you guys or, my sponsor or meetings, I have nothing to give them. And who am I to sit in this and teach a group of men, 9 men that I have every day and say, this is what you need to do, and be a hypocrite about it? Then I'm not being honest with myself. I'm not being honest with them. And it's like, I've thought about before, it's like, if I took a drink and drank, who's going to know? Well, I'll know. God will know.
I don't know.
He knows. So then it's like, then I think it's like, man, that guilt would creep up. And then it'd be like, well, I'm going to drink again. Well, I got away with it once, and I could maybe do it twice. Mm-hmm. And then the next thing you know, I'm snowballing, and I am back to exactly where I ended up. So.
Mm-hmm. What do you do to keep yourself sober for prevention?
Relapse
prevention. I'm sorry, I'm having a little brain.
No, it's all good.
Which was the subject of last week's podcast. So please, if you have not seen it yet, go back and take a look. Yeah. We're on every podcast platform.
Yeah. So I have a home group in AA. I do that. I reach out to my sponsor regularly. I do my morning meditations, my morning readings, my morning, the 24 hours a day, the AA thought for the day. I go through all that literally before I get my butt out of bed. Sorry. Before I get out of bed in the morning. So I'm doing all that. And then it's just, I know now that if I start to get squirrely or I get that feeling, I know what I need to do. And it's pick up the phone and call somebody. It's go to a meeting. And I know a lot of people will say, well, why do I have to go to meetings the rest of my life? It's like,
it sounds like the most cliche thing in recovery. You go to a meeting, but it works.
Yeah. It's like I found time to drink every single day, every hour of the day almost. I can find a meeting to go to almost every hour of the day around the St. Louis area. Over 1,000 meetings a week. So, and people will say, well, I don't understand why these people go to meetings every day. Did you drink every day? Did you use every day? Well, I don't think that's balance. Who are you to say that's not balance for them?
Right.
Yeah.
It's the same like, why do you work all the holidays? Because I used every holiday once to do it,
Yeah, I'm with that too, and I always worked the holidays because I never had children of my own. And so now that that's changed, but even being in law enforcement for 15 years, holidays, to me, holidays were just the day you celebrated it. You can celebrate that day every day. If you want to celebrate Christmas every day, you can celebrate Christmas. But Christmas, having it on the 25th, is that nice and cool? But why can't you have it on the 27th, 28th,
Yeah, we should be celebrating all year round, right?
You're working retail for 23 years. I understand that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what's the biggest surprise in your recovery right now? Like from the point when you started to where you're at now, what has been your biggest surprise?
My relationship with my bonus children. My stepkids. I call them my step. I don't like stepkids.
I don't like it either.
My relationship with them. I think I've shared with you guys, but if I haven't, I take my little man out to, I've taught him how to fish and hunt and everything, and now he is obsessed with fishing. Like it is, I mean, it's an obsession for sure. But the other day we went out and bow fishing a couple weeks ago, and we're walking back, and it was a pretty day, but we have to walk, and it's like 6 miles that we have to walk around these little swamp areas. And on our way back, he looks at me and he goes, "You know what, Jeremy? I really enjoy spending time with you." And I about lost it.
You have to lose it right now.
I am. I know.
I see it in your eyes. It's all right.
To me, it's the relationship I get to build with them, my wife, my family. I mean, that without those things, what is life anyway? So,
All right. How are we doing on time?
thanks for making me cry 3 times.
You're welcome, man.
We got a few minutes.
I was gonna say it's my turn next week, so just wait.
Yeah, here's the thing: working in recovery and working recovery. Sometimes it's a balance that we have to really learn, navigate. Mm-hmm. How has that been for you?
Oh, it's been a learning process. I mean, you know that firsthand with me. It's not taking. I can't. Let me back up. I have to have my own recovery program. I cannot use what I do as a job as my recovery. Everyone I know that has done that has not done well. And I'm talking relapses or go out and do something else. It doesn't end up well. So going back is, okay, if I see the sign that says you're driving off a cliff, I'm not going to drive off the cliff. But at the beginning, I would say, going back to balance, I didn't have that balance. And so I was doing meetings, but I was taking on all this burden of everybody else. I felt like I had to do it. I had to take on your pain, your trauma. I don't have to do that. So it was just learning how to navigate that. But yeah, working in treatment is not my treatment. That's not my relapse prevention plan.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's one thing I share with my clients as well. It's like, I go to meetings still, and then like, you've been sober this long and you still go to meetings. You still call your sponsor every day. Before my car hits that gate, I have him on the phone.
Yeah. Yeah.
And people are just like, wow, that's why I'm where I'm at right now, because I'm working my program. That's what I encourage you guys to do.
And I have there's an individual who's like, why do I have to call somebody else to answer my questions? Why can't I just do it on my own? And I'm like, well, you've done it on your own, and you've been here how many times?
Right.
Coming back.
And it's like if I call Shane or if I call Jim, or you, it's not almost that I don't want an answer. I just need to get it out my chest. And you know what? And maybe I'm not seeing things clearly, and they can help me see things clearly, or if I'm in a mood, like I want to do, I have a knee-jerk reaction to do something right now, and I don't want to do it, and I know what it's going to turn out, so I need to pick up the phone and call somebody.
Yeah.
And who's he going to call?
Not Ghostbusters.
Tyrone. Better call Tyrone.
Hey,
But Tyrone will answer.
This is Jeremy though. I'd let him use my phone on that one.
I appreciate that.
I wouldn't. You better leave me $1. Better leave me some money. Hey, what would you say to the person out there struggling, sitting on the fence about getting help? How can you give them hope?
Just do it. I mean, if you want to,
Sponsored by Nike.
no,
Yeah, don't promote.
no, yeah. No, if you're questioning it, that means that's something telling you that you need to do something. If you're tired of living the way you're living and you want to change it, then do something about it. Don't be, I know the shame, the guilt, how am I going to pay for this? What's my family going to think? Again, I've already touched on all that. I've experienced all that. And I'm going to tell you right now that none of that matters if you're not living. You're not going to have a family if I'm not alive. I'm not going to be a good a coworker, a good friend if I'm not living. And so what do I have to do to live this life? And to me, there's one common denominator of everyone I know that has long-term sobriety.
Say it.
It's a relationship with God.
Yeah.
Again, I'm sure there are people out there that can do it. I personally don't know them. And I say this all the time. If you could figure out an easier, softer way, unlike this book that was written in 1935, right, that makes you look at all this stuff. If you can find an easier, softer way, then I need you to write a daggum book, and you need to come back and tell us about it. Right. But there's a reason that it's been around for almost 100 years, and it works. And to me, it was based off of biblical principles, and the 12 steps were. So, yeah, I don't think everybody's born with this idea of a higher power. Every single person's born with a soul. We know this. So it's like, how do I connect that soul to that higher power? And to me, it's found in reading the Word. And the more you read the Word, guess what? It starts to talk to you. You start to understand it. The more you start living out those doing the next right thing. There you go, Shane. I threw my little cliche in there. To me, it's that simple. It's like, okay, if the only thing harder than not doing the right thing is living with knowing I had a choice. So just do the right thing. And so if you're questioning getting into treatment, I don't care where it's at. Get yourself some help. People can find it in the rooms of AA, NA, Celebrate Recovery. For those that are struggling, who really need it, hospitals aren't going to help you.
No, don't waste the money and time.
Don't waste the money and time. 60% of the beds in the United States, as we sit here right now, are filled with people with an alcohol or drug-related illness. So,
well, just drop co-occurring because.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So. It's one of those things where go to a place that specializes in this, that can actually help you through this stuff.
What's the most important thing that they bring with them?
Themselves?
Yeah.
Nah.
No, what's the word? It's an AA quote, man. Those are like, they have the urge to get clean, or you know what I'm talking about. I don't go to AA all the time.
I'm proud of you for catching on, though. It's willingness.
There it is.
Oh yeah.
The willingness to get sober.
It's like, where are you going? What do you mean bringing? Yeah.
Because, so many people come in and they say, I'm willing to do anything. Oh, are you?
Meatloaf.
Yeah, let's find out real quick exactly what you're not willing to do.
Yeah.
And it's easy to get to.
It's funny you say that because people say, well, I'm just here because I want to quit. Well, then why are you here? Go out there and quit. Go quit away, But it's pretty simple to me. It's when you ask yourself, how does it work? How am I going to get sober? Honesty, open-mindedness, willingness. Those three things. If you're going to be honest, great. If you're open-minded, that your idea isn't probably going to work, be open to suggestions and be willing to try those suggestions. Guess what? I can almost promise you're going to stay sober because you're taking the suggestions we're giving you.
As long as they'll take suggestions,
Correct.
As long as they're willing to do what is suggested to them, they can stay sober.
And as the moment they take their will back, I promise you're going to relapse.
Yep.
Without a doubt.
And it don't take long.
No.
So we know that there's families out there listening right now. Well, not right now because it's not out, but right now it's out. That is struggling with somebody in their family like Amy was. What can you say to them?
There's help for you as well. Al-Anon, Celebrate Recovery. Alateen, that's another one. There are people who know exactly what you're feeling. It's just like walking into the walls, to the rooms of AA or Celebrate Recovery for the alcoholic and the addict, because you're going to hear somebody else sharing your story. And what you're going to hear is you're going to hear those family members, those loved ones of those people who are struggling, who are still struggling. Some of them are still struggling. And you're going to hear their story and you're going to be like, that's me, that's me, that's me. And the next thing you know, that connection is built and you realize that you're not alone. You don't have to struggle through this alone. A lot of it, to me, with the mental health and the addiction side is ignorance. People just don't know about it, or people don't want to talk about it. Mm-hmm. It's that pink elephant in the room that nobody wants to talk about. Hey, can we put this little rug over this big elephant in the room? And it doesn't work that way. And addiction isn't a spectator sport. Eventually, the entire family gets to play. We like to think that we're only hurting ourselves. We're lying to ourselves. We're hurting everybody. Every relationship we have, we hinder in our addiction. And there is things like codependency, enabling, distrust. How do you learn to cope with a loved one who's in active addiction? And that's where you can find it in Al-Anon. And
Codependence Anonymous, Al-Anon.
Yep.
Because Coda's another really good program. So we'll have to bring Amy on so that way, and bring like Amy and Heather on and let them talk about how they
dealt with us.
Yeah.
After we do our interviews, we're going to come and interview the wives.
It's going to be like, that's how the story went.
It's part 2 of our interviews will be when our wives are on here.
Hey, Steve, anything before we close?
You've answered a lot of questions. I mean,
he's done well. I love hearing the story. Yeah. Derek, anything for Jeremy on the way out?
Jeremy, I love working with you, man. This was a relationship I never seen coming. The first time I met you, I was working at another church, and you brought your kids up, and I worked with your kids at first, and I'm really glad. It's really good to hear your story.
I don't think you had teeth at the time, did you?
I was missing one. Yes, I was.
Well, thanks for bringing that up. We know who's going to be on the force.
I got it right. I got it fixed just for the podcast.
No, I'm going to tell you, Jeremy, it has been an honor. It's been fun. We get to meet up for cigars. We get to meet as couples. Brother, I couldn't imagine doing life without you, man. I love you. I'm proud of you. And it's been fun.
Thanks.
And we got a long way to go still.
It's a long way.
I'm glad we get to walk it out with you, brother.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys being here.
Walk it out.
Any
closing from you, Jeremy?
Yeah, again, don't give up hope. Don't give up hope. There's help for you. There's a God who loves you. There's nothing you have to do. There's nothing in your past that you've done that can't be forgiven. And he's welcomed you with open arms. And there is a peace and a love that you've never experienced before. And so if you have questions about that, man, shoot us a question, find your nearest church, just go and just learn.
Where do you get in contact with us at?
info@awakensober.org.
Wow, look at that. He got it.
He got it.
He got it.
He got it. Yes.
Yeah, shoot us a question. Make sure you hit like, right? Like us on the podcast.
Like and share.
Like, share, subscribe, all that. Yeah. We'd love for people to leave comments on there so that way it could grow as well. It's one way that it gets sent around to different places.
Yeah, if Jeremy's little interview here reached out and touched you in any kind of way, please reach out, give us the questions. We want to hear from you. And thanks again for joining us.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. Steve, it was good to, I guess, kind of see you on the podcast.
Get in front of the camera for a change. And
the camera didn't break.
No, I didn't.
And we're going to call upon everybody to put in a vote what you thought about Steve being on the podcast.
It's been nice.
Would you add that after
keeping me over here? Nah, man, we love you guys. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next week. God bless, and have a good one.
God bless. Psalms 68:19. Praise be to the Lord, to God our Savior, who daily bears our burdens.
Oh,
that's
wrong
not
one.
It. That's not it.
Oh, shug it up.
Okay, we got to redo the whole.
Yeah. This is what I got for you.
All right, everybody. Have a great night, man. We're so glad you guys joined us. Once again, on every podcast platform, we're out there. Like, share, subscribe. Peace.
See ya.